Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I remember shouting that out defiantly as a child during many a playground scuffle. But the fact of the matter is, the names and the words always hurt. Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom, and I'm your weekly horoscope columnist here on Astrology Hub. And this week, I wanted to take some time to talk to you about the upcoming Mercury and Mars square on March 23rd. Now, squares are aspects in astrology that are basically referred to or described as being combative in nature. It's an interesting idea, the square, because this is when two planets are really sort of locking horns and going at it. It looks like a fight. They look like they're very angry at each other. And in fact, they are. This is why they have a reputation for being so negative and at times frightening in astrology. But squares, although combative in nature, are also collaborative, meaning that as each planet struggles to get the upper hand over the other, they're going to have to find a way somehow to work together. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean forgiving differences or making peace or setting up a truce, but they are going to have to find some way to work together coming from their own point of view. If you've ever been involved in, let's say, a creative collaboration, for instance, then you know that you can have very, very strong ideas about how something is supposed to be. And the person that you're collaborating on in this project or this business or enterprise can likewise have very strong ideas about how things are supposed to be. Well, if you're collaborating, you're not going to sort of go arms akimbo or turn around and leave in a huff. You're forced to work with each other to make that project, that enterprise, or that relationship happen. So this is basically what squares do. They honor the fact that each planet is coming from a different point of view. And there's also a little bit of the Roman Roman arena, where the other planets sit back and watch the two of them go at it. Okay, sort of may the best man or woman win, so to speak. So when we're talking about a square between Mercury and Mars, what you always want to do is basically focus on what each planet is bringing to the conversation. And that's kind of easy because Mercury is conversation. So Mercury is going to be the planet of the mind, and it's going to be the planet of words, but Mercury is also going to be the planet of strategy, okay? Thinking things out, okay? Using its wits. Mars, on the other hand, is pure fight and conflict. That's what Mars lives for. It rules over our desires and our passions. It gets behind the things that we really want in life, and it's not going to let up until we get them. So when you have the two planets squaring, Mercury is in Pisces and Mars is in Gemini, what that can do is that Mercury, on one hand, can weaponize words, because it's the planet of communication, right? And Mars, well, Mars is just going to fight dirty for what it wants. So what you might want to look out for this week is, okay, you're going to feel feisty or aggrieved or maybe angry about something, or you're dealing with someone else who's feeling those sorts of things. But be aware that it's not so much, what am I trying to say here? Be aware of what's going into the fight itself. In other words, for instance, with the Mercury in Pisces, which is squaring Mars in Gemini, well, the Mercury in Pisces isn't as altruistic as it professes to be. And the Mars in Gemini isn't as sparring with its word choice as it wants to be. In other words, Mars is being very aggressive and wants to win, and Mercury is going to use whatever is at hand to get the upper hand in the conflict. And what this can get into is things like using private confidences or tender moments to get at someone. Maybe it's a zinger. Maybe it's pretending to be sympathetic in the understanding while lightly dropping the salt into the wound and giving it a good rub. Okay, these are the things to be to be aware of, to be on the lookout for. You know, ask yourself, am I fighting dirty? You know, am I betraying a confidence? Am I using, emotional information that this person used against them? Or ask yourself if the person that you're fighting or arguing with is using those things against you. Because if there's a fight, if there's a conflict, then let's make it a fight, let's make it a conflict, let's make it legitimate. But if it's something where, people are, not being upfront about what they feel or what they're thinking, then that's when things can get nasty. And things can get particularly nasty when, because Mercury is in Pisces, it rules the Mars in Gemini. And so it kind of puts that fight into a loop. That's where things can get particularly nasty. And that's one of the things that I would ask you to really be on guard, I think is what I was trying to say earlier, to be on guard and mindful of this week. You may have a very legitimate complaint, or there may be a real fight that you're struggling with. But if it's, going into areas where you're kind of what they used to call hitting below the belt, then that's okay. Then that's not okay. That's what I meant to say, that's not okay. Something that an astrologer taught me years ago when I was starting out, and we would talk about relationships. She was teaching me relationships in a chart, and she would say to me, Lovey, um, it's really important for a couple to fight. And I said, it's really important for a couple to fight, but isn't that a bad thing? Isn't that something that we're trying to avoid, in relationships? She's like, no, 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 Lovey. It's human nature to fight. But what a couple needs to understand, whether it's a love couple or it could even be a business association, is that when you're fighting, you're not fighting to win. And that was something that really stayed with me. When you're fighting, you're not fighting to win. Okay. And that's kind of like a trust that comes into people, that I might be fighting because my feelings are hurt. I might be fighting because I'm really, angry about some sort of a thing, but I'm not fighting to win. I'm not fighting to humiliate. I'm not fighting to take the other person out or to always maintain the upper hand in this relationship. I'm not fighting to win. So what she was kind of acknowledging to me was a kind of honesty in fighting, that not only is it our nature to fight, but there's a sort of honesty to fighting that comes out as well. And so that got me thinking, what are good fights? We have that phrase, fighting the good fight. And I thought of three things. We need to be able to fight, in a relationship when we're fighting for the relationship in a time of crisis. That's a time when we need to be able to fight the good fight. Um, we may need to fight when we're trying to get a partner to face something that the partner isn't facing. And so we're the ones who are brought up with the unenviable duty of trying to make our partner see the light or to face or acknowledge something that they don't want to see. And that's something in which we're really going to have to draw upon our fighting energies, our Mars energy. And finally, another expression of Mars that came to mind is in Mars we can find restraint. We often think of Mars as being passionate and argumentative, but in Mars we can also find restraint. It's this restraint of taking it. It's the restraint to sort of hold back and not um, not cause pain to the person who caused pain to you. And that's a very special kind of restraint, and that's a very special kind of strength, and that's a very special expression of Mars. And so those might be things to think about as you go through this week. Um, how you're fighting. Are you fighting the good fight? Are you showing a restraint when all you want to do is hurt that person who hurt you, but then you're holding back? And then to let yourself have the patience and the trust and the compassion to hold back and to wait and to patiently see what emerges.